Okay, well, see, that's the problem. You can't get audio out from an Apple device when you plugged HDMI into it. It's going to grab the audio and take it no matter what.
Yeah.
So that kind of blows.
You don't have a VGA plug?
No, not in here. In panel 3, I'll have a VGA plug, which would do the trick. Because if you use VGA out, then you get audio out separately. But this room is only set up for HDMI. So that kind of sucks. Oh well. No audio. But instead, I can go to... What am I looking for? Keynote.
You don't need me to go.
Nah, we're good. We're going to go just like we are. I'm just going to skip the things that have audio on them. Come on, load. Loading. I said load.
Locked in.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Alrighty then. So we'll call this panel. Hey, where are you going?
Do you really need me to sit up there and hold your finger?
Oh, no, bye-bye. See you. Bye, honey.
Bye, baby.
Bye. Wow.
Let y'all know.
Feel the respect. So much
Don't have
respect.
DC here in Texas.
Okay, time check. All right, close enough to 5 o'clock. Welcome to my Q&A panel here at Kitsune Kon. We can call it a Q&A panel, or I can inspire you by showing you some of the stuff in my life as a voice actor. Because there may be 5 questions in the room, and that ain't going to last an hour. So let me tell you about my life as a voice actor, which all started out when when I was 14 years old. I had Justin Bieber hair. Go back, you stupid thing. I had Justin Bieber hair before Justin Bieber did. So when I was 14, and I was in junior high school in Jacksonville, North Carolina, small town on the coast, kids in school said, wow, you sound just like George Carlin on that album of his. So George Carlin had this album in 1976 called FM and AM, where he did a bunch of different radio characters and such, and I would imitate them at school, and all the kids at school say, God, you should be on the radio, you sound just like it. So I went down to the local radio station, WJNC in Jacksonville. It still exists to this day and looks exactly the same as it did in 1975 when I first went there. And the program director, a guy who called himself Jimi Hendrix, believe it or not, hired me on the spot that day after I did a little demo recording for him, and he put me on weekends. I was on from 5 p.m. until sunset, because this was an AM daytimer radio station. You all know what that means? Come sunset, some radio stations on the AM band have to sign off the air. Otherwise, they interfere with other stations on the same frequency across country. Because AM radio stations at night and during what we call skip conditions, their signal carries a long way. For instance, when I was a kid living in North Carolina, I would listen to WABC in New York, or WLS in Chicago. And because I was so into radio and I wanted to be a DJ so bad, I would do what's called DXing, listening to these radio stations. And so anyway, this station was a daytimer, and my parents allowed me in 7th grade to work at the radio station on weekends, because I'd go on the air like at 5 p.m. and sign it off at sunset. And, you know, in the winter, I didn't have an air shift at all at first. But then when summer came around, I got to stay on until 8:30, 8:45 at night, and I'd have to sign the radio station off. So that's where it all started for me, was at this little radio station. And then, of course, I moved on to big-time radio. I thought, at the time, my dream was to work at this station, WGH in Norfolk, Virginia. It was a station that I listened to in North Carolina, and I loved the way they sounded. And I ended up getting the afternoon drive job at this radio station. That's me acting very mature on the far left. Can I zoom in on that? No, it won't let me zoom. It won't. Nope, it won't do it. Okay, fine. Go back to where you were. Thank you. So look how mature I am in that pose. Anyway, that led to, that's the same era right there. That's 1979. I was 18 years old and grew a beard. And that's me doing a broadcast from Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia, from what we called the Showmobile, that thing you saw just before. And that led to many other radio jobs over the years. I worked all up and down the eastern seaboard, down in the south. And then I moved out west to work in Los Angeles, San Diego, and Phoenix. And I retired from radio in 2012 in Los Angeles. I had a 26-year-long career at a TV station in San Diego that got bought out and I lost that job after 26 years. But that led to some interesting work, including, well, you can't hear this one, but I guess maybe you can. They were scrumptious. Oh, stop. Come on, device. Stop that. So, stop that. Go back. Okay. Wow, I'm having trouble with this device today. So the TV job led to many other things, including theme park voices. I'm the voice of, still to this day, after so many years, 20 years, these rides have been in place at Legoland. And I do the character voices at Legoland, as well as at Dollywood, which is, Dolly Parton's theme park in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. The reason I use this as an example is it was one of the most interesting auditions I've ever had in my career. After I got the TV job, I started doing some voice acting for different projects, including this one that I landed, because the criteria for this audition was we need somebody who can speak with an authentic Southern accent, and I was raised in North Carolina, next to Tennessee. Has to be able to do a creepy voice, and you have to be able to sing on key. And that was what they wanted for this particular ride called the Mystery Mine Ride. Have you guys, anybody been there to Dollywood? You rode the Mystery Mine Ride? Remember the buzzard? That's me. So Buzz the Buzzard was the project I was hired for, and here's a little snippet of what Buzz does. Go, Buzz. And that's Buzz the Buzzard. Now, the reason I have that video is because just the first year that that ride opened, it's called the Mystery Mine Ride, my father happened to be visiting Dollywood and had his camcorder with him, you know, the great big VHS thing, and he shot that for me. So thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. So the TV job led to all kinds of interesting projects like doing theme park character voices and a lot of commercial work. But it also led me to something else. While I was production director at a radio station in San Diego, I happened to meet Lonnie Manella. Anybody know that name? Lonnie was one of the top casting directors in the video game industry back in 1995. And to this day has more credits than Nolan North, for God's sake. You know his name, right? You know Steve Bloom's name, but you don't know Lonnie Manella, and yet she's done 5 times the work of any voice actor I've ever known, and has directed me on many projects. In fact, the very first job that she had me audition for and hired me for, a little thing called Duke Nukem 3D. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. To this day, I freaking love it. That's been the easiest character voice for me up until the last couple of years when I was hired to be the postal dude for Postal 4. And the postal dude sounds exactly like this. And the way that job happened was my friend David Eddings, he was a voice actor at one time. He's also the vice president of Gearbox Software. But David has a friend named Mike Schachter, who's one of the Running with Scissors dudes. And Schachter called him a couple of years ago and said, hey, we need somebody to be the new postal dude for Postal 4. Got any suggestions? And David said, oh yeah, call Jon St. He's an asshole. He'll do it. And so they reached out to me and said, yeah, okay, yeah, we'd like you to audition for it. Let me send you some files from Rick Hunter, who was the original Postal 1 and Postal 2 dude, I guess. And then there was somebody else in Postal 3, which didn't go over very well for some reason. I don't know the history of it. But I did my imitation of Rick Hunter, and to me, he sounded like a pukey FM DJ. You know what I mean? Capital buildings on the left side at 5 o'clock as we drive. You know, yes, that kind of pukey DJ voice. So I did my audition in my Rick Hunter takeoff, and they didn't like it. And I said, okay, well, what is it you're looking for? And they said, somebody who just sounds snarky. And I stop! That's me, man. Listen to me, dude. Don't I sound freaking snarky to you? Listen to this nasally ass voice of mine. You know, and listen to my attitude. I'm an asshole most of the time. Come on. And he goes, well, then do the audition in your regular voice. And I did. He called me back the same day he got the file and went, okay, you're in. So I was hired to be the Postal 4 dude based on that stuff. But the Duke Nukem games, they led to, well, more Duke Nukem games, obviously. And from there, let's see. Okay, I'll stop that one for a moment. I have a little story that goes with this one. Go back and stay. Thank you. A lot of advertising came to me because of, 2015, the end of 2015, an ad agency in Los Angeles that I did a lot of work for called me and said, hey, the leading candidate for president of the U.S. Wants you to be the voice of his campaign. And I said, what party? He said, the Republican Party. I said, oh, I'm going to have to turn that down. I'm not going to talk politics here today. That's not what this is all about. But you know who I'm talking about. The former president of the U.S. I refused to do his ads. And it was a big national campaign, would have paid a lot of money. But I said, nah, I don't want to. He rubs me the wrong way. He's not who I want to help, become president. So I posted on Facebook a couple of days later. I said, I hate to turn down work, especially when it's something that pays this well. But I could not, clear my conscience and be the voice of Donald Trump's, run for president. There's nobody I really want to vote for, including him. So I'm going to turn it down, and I did. And people went crazy on Facebook. Said, oh my God, you turned it down. And look, the voice of Duke Nukem doesn't want to do Donald Trump's ads? What? And it went viral, and Reddit picked it up, and then the Huffington Post picked it up. And as it turns out, the creative director for Weeden Kennedy in New York City, one of the biggest ad agencies in the country, they do all of Anheuser-Busch advertising, calls me. He gets my number somehow, probably from my agent, calls me at home and says, is this Jon St. I said, yeah. He goes, hey, I saw your post about not doing Trump's ads, and we think you might be the perfect voice for our campaign, the Bud Light Party. What? I'll tell you before I play the ad for you, because you might recognize these. You recognize Seth Rogen and Amy Schumer from that campaign. I know it's been a few years. But what happened with this was he hired me to do the job, and it paid better than any gig I've ever had, ever. Because when you do national advertising, regardless of how many times you recorded what you've recorded, if it airs beyond 13 weeks, you get paid again. All the royalties get paid to you, the entire amount over and over. Okay, so these ads started in January of 2016 and ran until November, until Election Day. How many 13-week periods is that? I'm not sure, but I can tell you I made more money on one thing in my life than anything else, and it was this. And it sounds something like this. Can we hear it? We can't hear it. Hold on, let's see. Is it here? Am I doing it? No. Oh, so sorry. You would probably recognize it if you heard it. So I was the guy who goes, raise one to right now, the Bud Light Party. Okay, so a little advertising thing there. Well, let's move on beyond it. Move on. Yeah. Okay, so then I started doing fan conventions. Whoops, good, let's go back one. And this, if you look, I know it's hard to see on here, and I can't zoom it or anything. They've got it at a 4:3 aspect ratio, but everybody in that picture is flipping off the camera. You probably can't tell, can you? And that's kind of a typical thing. I was hoping, if y'all don't mind right now, can I take a selfie with you? Okay, everybody, we're number one. Good. Flip this around. Okay, flip me off. There we go. You'll be on Facebook tonight. So, it became kind of typical for every time I did a convention appearance for people who want to post pictures of them flipping me off. Even in the Sexy Naughty Late Night Party, which this panel is tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. There's Vernita with me. You can see everybody in the audience is flipping me off. That's just kind of a thing now. So, appearing at conventions, let's see, where does this thing go next? Oh, led me to doing cosplay. I like doing cosplay as well. I'm Mr. Incredible in this picture. Vernita, who just walked away a few minutes ago, she's Elastigirl. And as it turns out, see the little kid at the bottom left who's playing Incrediboy? We didn't even know him. He showed up at this particular convention in Detroit all by himself as Incrediboy, and when we saw him, we embraced him and said, dude, you have to join us. And he said, yes, sir. And so I've done everything in the convention world pretty much. All the appearances, I hang out with furries from time to time. I drink with fans. Oh. And then I started doing content just for fun, including Duppet quotes. Who's familiar with the Duppet? Anybody? Okay, so I decided I wanted a Muppet version of Duke Nukem. So I hired this company in LA to make me a Duppet. That's what I call him, Duke Puppet. And let's see if this will play. Come on.
They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. Get the fuck out of my face and we'll see if it works. Gives you a set of unhealthy coping mechanisms and a dark sense of humor.
So those were funny enough that in just about 2 months of putting them on TikTok, we got 60,000 followers. And I thought, well, okay, now I'm a content creator. So I've gone from being a radio DJ to a voice actor to attending conventions to creating content, and now I'm doing, well, let's see, oh, this is Fuck the Pain. Play. 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 Please? Fucking play. That didn't work either. Touch it. Okay, so those help build the following a little bit, because, you know, any content you can create that's even mildly amusing is going to help you build an audience. So my newest thing, which you guys are going to be kind of the first to see some of this, is, well, let me explain. When I was a young DJ, 18 to 23 or 24 years old, on the Eastern Seaboard, I got fired from my radio job many times because of the things I said that I thought were so clever. I used what was called blue humor on the air. For instance, I was on FM 99 in Norfolk, Virginia, an album rock station. And every Friday night I would do half of an album side, you know. From 11:30 to midnight, check out this album side. This week we're doing Foreigner. Foreigner. I'd be lucky to get 2 in her. I got fired for saying that. I was talking about drinks, was what I told the program director, and he said, you're full of shit and you're fired. And just like you reacted just now to that one-liner that I've used on the radio, I thought, well, if I'm making content, I don't want to just throw any crap up there. I want it to be entertaining and have some production value and be funny. I want people to be entertained. So now I'm having the Duppet under the name Duke Nukem on KTIT Radio. KTIT, playing the best hits on the radio. Remember that from the Duke Nukem 3D game? So now the Duppet is a DJ. Come on, work. Come on, play. Come on.
KTIT.
obviously it doesn't like this. It's not going to work. So now the Duppet is playing DJ, and these are starting to go up on TikTok, and that's where I am right now. So present day, I don't do radio. I gave that up in 2012. I don't have my TV job anymore. Now mostly I sell mattresses. Not in a store, in a series of ads that run up and down through the Midwest and in the South for a company called Sleep Outfitters. Anybody hear of them? I'm the voice on everything Sleep Outfitters. So now, today, I make a living selling mattresses, working for an ad agency. I have my own TikTok channel with 60,000 followers and Twitter with another, 40,000 followers and all that I'm putting content on. But I also have my own convention now, which is called King Kon Cruise. And what we do is every February and March, with Royal Caribbean as my partner, I hold a cruise where the fans and the guests get to interact together doing activities. For instance, next February when we go out, I have DC Douglas is one of our guests. Richard Epcar, who's the Joker on all things Joker. His wife, Ellen Stern Epcar, who's a director and voice actor. Wes Johnson from the Fallout series. Last year we had... who's that other married couple? How can I forget? John Patrick Lowry, who's Sniper, and his wife, Ella McLean, who's GLaDOS. Imagine GLaDOS with a megaphone narrating a laser tag tournament on a cruise ship. That's what we do. So these voice actors, they're personal friends of mine, and they come along and just appear because they're getting a free vacation, and they interact with the attendees who come along. So you're having dinner with all of us every night, and I personally go kayaking, snorkeling, rock wall climbing, laser tag, hanging out on the beach, all that stuff with the attendees who come to that cruise. So it started out as me being a radio DJ, and then I became a television sort of personality and voiceover, which led to the video games and the advertising, and then convention appearances. And since I've done so many convention appearances over the years, I thought, well, hell, I'll have my own, and I'll do it on a cruise ship, so I get a vacation every year as my business. And so that's where we are today. That's the weird way that my career has evolved over time in ways that I could never have expected it to do. Now I got my own con. That's pretty groovy. Groovy. And so now here I am today at your disposal in this Q&A session that I've wasted 20 minutes of your time on already. I hope you have 40 minutes of questions. If you don't, I'm going to have to start drinking tequila in front of you. Oh, I'm not allowed to do that in here? Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll drink later, you guys. So it is a Q&A session, so any cues? Okay, right there. What's your question?
Since you voice so many characters, and this is a two-part question, which character do you think would most like you in real life, and which one is the exact opposite? And I'll give examples, like Jay Tatum says, Tanya from My Hero Academia is most like him, and Josh Freeling said Yuki from Future Diaries is his opposite.
So you mean, are any of my characters like me? Am I like any of my characters? Sure, I'm going to say I'm like Duke Nukem. I'm a misogynistic prick. No, that's not true. I'm not like him at all. The only thing Duke and I have in common is we love babes and we share a voice. That's about it. I'm probably more like Big the Cat than I am Duke Nukem. I'm kind of slow sometimes. Hey, my froggy doesn't look very good. But thank you for that question. I don't really resemble any of my characters. Not even Postal Dude. He sounds exactly like this, but he's a weirdo. Anybody play Postal 4? Have you? And what did you think?
It's still fun to run around and kill people.
It might as well be GTA. You're really just being awful. I'm trying to get people to sign a petition, of course. Did you ever try to get anybody to sign the petition, or were you just running around killing people?
You gotta do multiple things. More multitasking in that game.
Right. It's an unusual game, and I think the thing that sold me on it when Mike Schachter first asked me if I wanted to do it, he said, "Do you know anything about the game?" And I said, "No, but hold on." And it's on my computer. I went, oh, you're the game that was banned in Australia in 1997 for being ridiculously stupid violent. He goes, that's right. I said, I'm in. That's all it took. It's like, yeah, I want to be a part of a game that has a history of being ridiculously over the top, because Duke Nukem certainly was. A question I get asked quite often is Duke Nukem coming back? I would love to say Duke is coming back. There's no reason he can't. We can definitely make him PC for today's audience. That's easy to do. You give him a sidekick who keeps him on the straight and narrow, so to speak. And a sidekick's already been created. I have a friend in Italy, an artist named Laura, who does her own Vengeance of the King webcomic about Duke Nukem. And she reached out to me a few years ago and said, hey John, if Duke had a son, what would his name be? And I paused for maybe a second, and I said, Deuce. Junior, the second. Deuce Nukem. And she goes, oh my God, that's brilliant, Deuce Nukem. So Deuce is already in that web series. And I think that if a Duke Nukem movie were to be made, and you now know probably it is being made. There is a Duke Nukem movie in the works. They've not responded to me at all. I've reached out to them and said, hell, I'd love to do a cameo or a voice cameo, anything. And I've not heard a word. So I'll probably not have anything to do with it. But if I had my way, a Duke Nukem movie would be R-rated CG. So it could look exactly like the video game. You could make anything you want from the video game happen, right? I would be the star. And you could bring his son Deuce in to be the sidekick who keeps him on the straight and narrow. Like, Dad, you can't say stuff like that. This is 2022. Oh, you're right. You know, he could have a sidekick that would keep him on the straight and narrow, make him PC correct. So, I don't know. So there is a movie in the works, but as far as games, no Duke Nukem games in the works at all. The powers that be that own the Duke Nukem franchise are too busy with other things, I guess, or haven't found the right script for the game, so to speak. I don't know how to explain it. I don't understand why you let a character that is so influential and has such a huge following die on the vine, because that's what they're doing. Duke Nukem is fading away over time. My panels like this used to be in a room twice this size with standing room only. That tells you something right there. But the fact that Duke Nukem hasn't had a game in over a decade, and I'm still invited to conventions every month. Hell, I'm going to Norway next month, which is pretty cool, to Retro Messacon. I'm trying to brush up on my Norwegian right now. That's a hard language. Anybody speak Norwegian? No? Okay. But the fact that here we are a decade later and there hasn't been a Duke Nukem game since 2011, and the fandom is still there. Everybody still loves Duke. He deserves to have another game and all the fame that goes with it. I'm just amazed that they haven't made another game, and they're going to do a movie without doing another game after a decade. Really? Does that make any sense to anybody? It dumbfounds me. I just don't understand it. Okay, I've rambled. Now another question. Yes, sir.
So recently, one of the development builds of Duke Nukem Forever actually leaked.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah. So I was wondering because there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, if you could talk about just what it was like with that just prolonged development period, where, like, what was your experience of that as the voice actor?
Oh, you're going to hate this. You're going to hate this answer. Okay, so Duke Nukem Forever is really what we're talking about. It was being developed in 1998. It was supposed to come out in 99 or 2000. As we know, it took 12 years, and in 2011 it finally came out. You know when I knew about it? In 2011. I knew nothing. They didn't have me record anything. There was no work to be done. Gearbox Software bought it from George Broussard in 3D Realms and developed the game. It was, as you can see in 2001, it was shaky. It was not very well put together, and I thought Gearbox did a great job with Duke Nukem Forever. They really brought it together. I know the critics panned it, and a lot of fans didn't care for it, but keep in mind, when it came out in 2011, the graphics were way outdated, the game engine was way outdated, and the audience for Duke Nukem at that time had grown up, right? So it was disappointing to people who were playing Call of Duty and expected this Duke Nukem game to have that look and feel. you know. And the thing that I think is funniest that pissed off most of the fans is, you can only carry 2 weapons. Hello, in real life, you're not going to carry a whole lot more than 2 weapons. I don't care what the Mythbusters said when they did that show. But you're going to carry maybe 2 weapons, and that's about it, right? So, yeah, it got panned pretty hard. And the 2001 game that has just been leaked out, fun to watch. I've looked at quite a bit of it. And they're adding different voices to it, the different people who are putting together levels. I've been approached but turned it down because I'm going to keep my loyalty to Gearbox because they own Duke Nukem still to this day. And I'm not going to record anything that I'm not under contract to record for them. But they have people like that Gianni guy who's throwing some voices in on it. And that's fine. Johnny does some funny stuff. He really does. Have you seen Johnny's Duke Nukem takeoffs? They're very funny. They don't sound like Duke, I don't think. It's 8-bit crushed, which is fine. And they're really funny, but it's not authentic enough for that character, I don't think. But the 2001 leak, I'm glad it came out because it makes Duke a little more relevant today. Because there's no other Duke Nukem news to be had other than, okay, now there's a movie in development and maybe in a year and a half you'll see it. I don't know who's going to star in it. I think Jon St is actually starting to age out of the Duke Nukem role. And Cena, he's done so many PG, silly, kiddie fucking things that... Sorry. That I don't know if he even fits the mold of Duke Nukem anymore, to be honest with you. But they'll get somebody, and I'm sure the movie will be cool. Hollywood's not going to spend all that money to make a Duke Nukem movie and not make it Duke-like, I guess. I don't know. Historically, video games turned into movies don't go over very well, and that's usually because they don't stay true to the character and the storyline like they should. And I have no faith in this Duke Nukem movie that's coming out that they're going to do anything different than Hollywood's already done, but we'll see what happens. Did I answer that adequately?
Yeah.
I certainly rambled long enough, didn't I? Did you get your money's worth? What did you pay to get into this panel? Sorry, I don't mean to go all Letterman on you. What's your question, sir?
Yeah, are there any existing series or franchises that you really enjoy that you would like to do work for?
Oh, all of them. Yeah. I want to work in every single video game I audition for, but the truth is, I can audition for 200 video games and maybe land a role that's not even a lead role in a game. Aside from, I can only name 2 voice actors, Nolan North and Trey, what's his name? Troy Baker, sorry. Thank you, honey. They're the only 2 guys that I know of that are actually making a living doing video games. Nobody else is. There's not enough games coming out regularly with lead roles. And if it's not a lead role, you're only making SAG-AFTRA scale for a recording session or 2. In other words, you're making what I made for the original Duke Nukem 3D game, which was about $800. That's all I ever made from Duke Nukem 3D. When Duke Nukem Forever came along in 2011, and Gearbox called me and said, hey, guess what? Hell froze over. We're going to make this game. We need you to voice it. What do you want? And I threw a ridiculous number at them. They went, okay. I was like, wow, that's way above SAG scale even. They go, yeah, but you're the voice of Duke. Nobody can do it like you, so come on. And they treated me like a king. They flew me first class to Dallas, put me up in a 5-star hotel, limoed me back and forth to the studio at Gearbox every day. I mean, I've never been treated that well. And it paid really well. Nobody's really making a living doing video games. I have to sell mattresses, as I mentioned earlier, for Sleep Outfitters. I got to do all these commercials to make money. And that's basically my income today, other than like my Cameo account. You guys know what Cameo is, right? I sell Duke Nukem voiceovers weekly. There's 2 or 3 orders every week. And it's fun to do. It doesn't pay the bills necessarily. But, you know, I can still lean on Duke to help me out a little bit here and there. Did I answer that adequately? Did you have a follow-up to it? I thought you might.
So you mentioned specifically games. What about animation roles? Is that something that's a lot different? Or
Oh, yeah, animation's way different. All the voiceover has to be done first in animation. In video games, it's last. Everything's done except the lip flap in video games. So that's why Duke Nukem Forever, for instance, you know, it came out in 2011, around the summer, I think, of 2011. I can't remember exactly. But I didn't even know about it until early 2011 when they called me and said, hey, hell is frozen over, we need you to do this. And boom, I got the job. But yeah, I'm under NDAs, so I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you there is an full-length animated motion picture coming out this year. It'll be on Netflix. I play a bear. He's cute too. I really like this bear. I get the last line in the movie. That's kind of cool. It's a classic story that you all know, but I'm not allowed to tell you the name of it. The director is a voice actor I met years ago at another convention who's really awesome. But I can't tell you his name either because that's just the way the NDAs work. But when it does come out, it'll be all over my Facebook page, everywhere, because I've always wanted to do animation. It's a tough nut to crack if you don't live in LA. And I don't. I live in San Diego. Years ago, I lived in LA. But in the 2 years that I lived there and I was doing radio, I developed adult onset asthma from breathing the smog. And it was starting to actually have an impact on my voice. And I'm like, shit, I can't live here anymore. I moved back down to San Diego where the air is blue, not brown. Quality of life is way better, but I'm not rubbing elbows with all those people in Hollywood and LA that I need to be getting all the, voice roles in animated features and such. I'm lucky that the director on this one coming out was a friend, a fellow voice actor who's now a director. And he chose me to be the bear because I had a great big low voice. Yeah. So that's the only animated feature really that I've been a part of so far. I'm hoping it will lead to more. Fingers are crossed. Next question. You, right there.
Yes, I was wondering, is there any kind of role that you haven't done that you would like to do? Just something that would test you a little bit, make you stretch, that you would enjoy doing, that you haven't had an opportunity to do yet?
Not really, because the character roles I like playing the best are the villain, and I've done several villains, including Dr. Proton in the original Duke Nukem 3D, and then in Bombshell, God, now I can't say his name. Nobody? Anybody play Bombshell? The game that was supposed to be the next Duke Nukem game, but 3D Realms lost the rights to Gearbox, so they had to call it Bombshell and make it a female hero. So I'm the bad guy in that. What was his name? He's a great character. I'm glad you recognize the voice of an old friend, Shelley. What the hell was his name? I can't remember. But no, I've played a lot of roles. Most of them are not lead roles. There are additional voices, but I got to play the parts that I like playing, so I wouldn't say there's anything that I really want that I haven't done, other than I want to be in every damn video game I audition for, again. But I played villains, I played the heroes, I played animals, I played narrators, I played different foreign dialects, different American dialects in so many games. My bio doesn't really spell it out much because I don't take the time to brag about my career that much as I should. My manager has told me, she's in the room, you need to... Oh, sorry, I'm not mocking you. I'm sorry, I'm not mocking you. But I've not taken the time really to put it all out there, all of the games I've been in, but over 300 games, thousands of voices over the years. And I just don't promote them all. I don't think they're all great. The bigger ones I'm happy to talk about. The other games, big deal. They're just another video game. And you would say the same thing too. If you looked at, gosh, what's a more recent one that nobody really gives a damn about? I'm not in Call of Duty. I was in, I was the original King Varian Rin in World of Warcraft. Does that mean anything? Not really. I don't get credited anymore, and they've replaced me 16 times already with other voice actors. No, the one just last year that came out, that's This Is the Police, was one that was a really good game, but nobody played it. So I don't promote a lot of the games I've been in. I just stick with what works. People know Duke Nukem. People know Big the Cat. People know Postal. So those are the ones I always talk about, and I don't talk about all the other games. You have a question back there, sir? Can you pull the mask down real quick? I know he's going to be in the movie. I read that somewhere. It's not going to be me. And it's not going to be Kyle Hebert. No, Big the Cat is going to be an A-lister Hollywood star. You know that already. There's no voice actors in CG movies anymore. That doesn't happen because people aren't going to buy a ticket to see a movie that Jon St. John voice acted in. They're going to go, Jon St. what? Who's he? He's not George Clooney. I'm not going to buy a ticket for my kids to see that movie. So, yeah.
Haskell.
Huh?
Haskell.
Oh, thank you, Haskell. Jadis Haskell was the bad guy in Bombshell. God. Well, I'm getting old and my memory is not as good as it used to be.
No, IMDb.
IMDb, that helps. Your question?
Oh yeah. What was the worst job you ever had to work?
You mean voice acting or the worst job?
I was talking about like voice acting more specifically.
Voice acting work? Sometimes you get a bad director. And so your performance sounds really awful because that's the way you were directed. And that game is called Evil Zone. Look it up sometime. I'm Dan Zavir in Evil Zone. And it is just, I have a clip of it on here, but I can't get the equipment in here to work correctly or I'd play it for you. It's just awful. And then there was that Blue Stinger game by Sega that was also very badly directed. Just terrible. And I have a funny story about it, though. Anybody still have a Sega Dreamcast system? Yeah? Oh, good for you for holding on to it. See if you can find a game called Blue Stinger, where I play a couple of different characters in the game, but the most notable story about that one was the narrator. So I'm the narrator in it. Coming soon from Sega Dreamcast. This is the voice they wanted me to do. And so the Japanese director who's on the phone with me says, okay, at the end you say, Blue Stinger. I went, you mean Blue Stinger? No. Blue Stinger. Okay. Coming soon from Sega Dreamcast. Blue Stinger. She said, no. Blue Stinger. Okay. Coming soon from Sega Dreamcast. Blue Stinger. No. Blue Stinger. No. Anyway, finally they edited together a whole bunch of different takes. I must have done 70 takes of that damn thing. And just the other day I was playing the video, I have it on here, and I'm going, coming soon from Sega. They edited a Stinger onto Blue, so it's Blue Stinger. But it took forever to get that recorded, all those takes, and they finally took, take 48 of Blue and take 70 of Stinger and edited them together. So that's a very bad game, not because of the narration role in it, obviously, but the game itself, not very good. I've been in a number of not very good games over the years. But you know what? You want to stay relevant. And the tough thing about being an actor, you've heard this line before, is you're only as good as the last thing you were in, pretty much, right? You want to be remembered by your best work. Well, God. I'm not really pleased with some of the things I've done in the last few years because they're just meh games. You try to stay relevant. It's not that easy, folks. What's the next question? Who's got it? The apple on your head. Is that an apple?
No, it's a Yoshi head.
Oh, it looks like an apple from here. Turn sideways. Yeah, turn sideways. Oh, there it is. Now I can see it. Okay. All right. Can you stand up and pull your mask down? Because I'm kind of hard of hearing. Hi.
So I know you mentioned beforehand how you sometimes hate the voice that you got to do for Big the Cat. If ever the chance you got to do it again, what voice would you do for him?
I wouldn't do it the same way. In fact, I was at a con last year where somebody said, do the Big the Cat voice. I went, well, my Froggy, you don't look so good, little buddy. And they got me on it. They said, that's not the voice you did for Big the Cat. And I said, you're right. It's the one I wish I'd done. Did you guys play Sonic Adventures, Sonic Heroes with Big the Cat? Yeah. Then the voice is, well, my Froggy, you don't look so good, little buddy. Which I hated. I hated when I did it, but the audition for that game. Oh, remember Lonnie Manella? I showed you on the screen, who got me the Duke Nukem 3D role. Lonnie's the one who cast the Sonic Adventures game. And so the entire voice cast for the Sonic Adventures were friends of mine in San Diego. We were the entire voice cast of that game. And I walked into the studio. Well, first of all, Lonnie called me midweek one time and said, hey, John, this Saturday I need you to be at this studio, Lightning Studio in Kearney Mesa, to record this new Sonic the Hedgehog game. And I'm like, okay, I'll be there. Send me the sides and the artwork so I can see the characters. She goes, don't worry about that. You'll be fine. Just show up. I'm like, okay. So I show up at Lightning Studios in Kearny Mesa on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and there's all the other voice actors, people I know, who are doing their parts. And Lonnie comes walking out of the studio and walks up to me and hands me a picture of Big the Cat. And I went, what the hell is that? She goes, that's Big the Cat. And I went, yes, it is. She goes, he's kind of big and dumb and slow. I said, I can see that. She goes, he sounds big and dumb and slow. Okay, so it's my turn to get in the studio after Ryan Drummond finished doing his Sonic lines. I get in there and I get on the mic and I can hear Japanese speak in my headphones. So the director from Tokyo is on the line. And I can't understand a thing they're saying, but I hear him talking, and then Lonnie goes, okay, John, they're ready for a take, because she's got a translator in the booth with her. She goes, okay, they're ready for a take, so just read that first line and just dumb it up. Where's my froggy? I can't find my froggy. I said, how's that for dumb? And I was being a smart ass. I didn't mean for that to be the voice. I did not want that to... I wanted them to be something a little more like this, happy. And I hear the Japanese speak in my headphones again. And Lonnie goes, they love it, that's the voice. And I went, no, can I do something else? No, they love that. I hear them going, they're Japanese, but they're going, yes, yes. They know the word yes. They want that. Oh, God. So forever, the voice of Big the Cat Nose Cane sounds like this. Not what I wanted for Big the Cat at all. And then the funny thing is, I started appearing at conventions and people would say, oh my God, Duke Nukem is also Big the Cat. That's hilarious. Don't you love being Big the Cat? I went, no, not really. I gotta be honest, I hate that voice. It's freaking terrible. But fans took it the wrong way. They thought that I hated Big the Cat. I don't hate Big the Cat. I think it's a big damn waste of time in that game, to be perfectly honest. Chasing a frog around who goes down a sewer drain. Come on. But I never hated the character. I hated the voice I did for Big the Cat. And to this day, I still hate that voice that I did for Big the Cat. But a few years later, they killed off Big the Cat. First, they replaced me with Kyle Hebert. And Kyle's a great guy. I love him. Great big teddy bear of a voice actor. And he did his take on Big the Cat, which was pretty much the same thing I did like this. And then Sega killed off Big the Cat. He didn't appear in any more games, anywhere at all. That was it. And now apparently he's going to be in this movie? I read it too. Big the Cat is going to be in the movie. I wonder, okay, I have a question for you guys. What Hollywood celebrity plays the part of Big the Cat to sound big and dumb and slow?
Will Sasso.
Will Sasso. Well, he has the look, but it's not about the look. I'm sorry, Will Sasso. I didn't mean that. Kevin James. Does he do any kind of character voices, or you mean just his natural voice as Big the Cat? That actually could work, huh? What about the guy who played Ray Romano's brother, Brad Garrett? Wouldn't Brad Garrett make a good Big the Cat? That was the first thought I had when I thought, oh, they're going to make the movie. I bet Brad Garrett gets the role. It's going to be some Hollywood A-lister, though. They won't even talk to me. But back to the Duke Nukem movie, I did reach out to the producers because they posted on TikTok, on Twitter, that they were making this movie. And I immediately jumped in there and went, hey, need any help with a voice? Let me know. I know a little bit about Duke Nukem. Didn't hear a thing. What's your question? It is so funny that you say that. We were just having a conversation an hour ago. I got a wild hair up my ass, and that's an expression, about creating new content because I'm not in the anime world at all. I'm privileged and honored to come to conventions like this that are anime based. Most of you are really into anime, and I've never done any anime work. For a couple of reasons. They don't want me, and they don't pay shit. And I like SAG scale. I like to be paid a goodly amount for what I'm doing. And anime doesn't pay that. But it goes beyond that. It's a culture that I've not been involved with. I mean, other than Team 4-Star, the Dragon Ball Z abridged series, which I thought was hilarious. And I love those guys. I've not had any part in anime, but I thought, I wonder if I should even, hey Adam, I wonder if I should even mention this to you guys. Manager, should I mention it?
No, but you're gonna.
In that case, let me just say that I'm brainstorming on something that involves Duke Nukem in anime. And that's all I can say. So, much like the Duppet content that I'm doing, right? The Duke Nukem puppet doing all those radio breaks that I got fired for over all those years. And there's a lot of nasty stuff in there, by the way. That's another content thing that I'm thinking might be a way for me to get involved in the anime community, is by having Duke interact with maybe some anime characters y'all are familiar with. So I'm still brainstorming it, but I'm thinking this is something that I can create and put out on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook very soon. Maybe put it on MySpace. Does anybody know, does MySpace still exist? Does it? Does anybody use it still? Yeah, so does it really exist? Probably not. Another question. Did you have a follow-up to that one?
Oh, yeah, how about the brainstorming idea? How about taking a page from Rooster Teeth and doing the machine route?
I'm considering all options at this time. I would definitely like to do something that brings Duke into the anime world, but in a very respectful way. I'm not mocking anime in any way. It's got to be funny and cute. And so, you know, I'm working on it. You have a question, sir?
Yeah, Paramount's recently coming out with a new series back again, where we'll collaborate with like the Beavis and Butthead stuff.
Beavis and Butthead?
Yeah.
What's the question?
Duke Nukem here.
Oh, God. Are you kidding? If they offered something like that, I'd jump all over it. There's nothing Duke Nukem related that I won't do. You know, first of all, I'm an attention whore, so I want to be noticed for doing stuff. And B, I'll say anything in the Duke voice for money. Almost. I have turned down some cameo requests because they were just not cool. And if I showed them to you, you'd go, oh, that is not cool. So there's some things I will not do. And Duke Nukem doesn't make political commentary. So I keep him separate. Duke Nukem does not play politics. I'll never do that with him. Duke Nukem is for everybody. So I'll never let that character take sides politically. That's just the way I feel about it. Who's got the next question? Anybody? Yes, you. Yeah, you. Can you stand up so I can see you? Can you also take off your mask for just a second? Because my hearing's kind of shitty.
It's fine. I saw like earlier in your presentation that like George Carlin kind of inspired you. Would you consider yourself like an official fan of the late great guy?
Oh my God, yes. Oh, George Carlin was he was a genius. I never got to meet George Carlin, though I saw him in concert many times over the years. And I had three major influences that got me into voice acting. George Carlin was one, because I imitated him. Mel Blanc was the first one in my life. As a child growing up watching the Looney Tunes, I wanted to be a voice actor so bad. And the third one, and this is kind of a cute story you guys might appreciate whether you know him or not. The name Gary Owens. Does that mean anything to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Well, Gary Owens was more coordinated than me and wouldn't do shit like that. But no, Gary Owens, as I was growing up, he was on the radio in Los Angeles when I was very young, and I'd listen to him, the G.O. show on KMPZ. He sounded like that. And he was the guy who was the DJ or announcer on Laugh-In. Does that ring a bell? If you didn't know who he was before, you probably still don't know. But NBC had a television show called Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. It was political comedy back in the 60s, and a lot of stars came from that show. Goldie Hawn, Ruth Buzzy, Henry Gibson. You may not know these names now, but you've seen them in films over the years. They became celebrities over time. But Gary Owens was the guy who was in the booth with his hand on his ear going, never put a cobra in your neighbor's shower. Nurney, nurney. So when I was working radio in Los Angeles, a friend of mine who goes by the name of Shotgun Tom Kelly asked me, he said, hey, would you like to come to lunch with me and my friend Gary? I went, sure, let's go. I didn't know who he was talking about. And we walk into Cantor's Deli, in Los Angeles, and I just about pissed myself. There's the Gary Owens sitting in a booth waving at us. And I went, oh my God. I was over the top. I mean, he's been an idol of mine since I was a child. So we sit down. Are we getting to that time? Okay, 7 minutes. So we sit down, and Shotgun Tom, being the asshole he was at that time, says, Gary Owens, I want you to meet Jon St. John. He does the best impression of you you've ever heard. I'm like, oh my God, my idol, and he's making me do the pony, show. So and Gary goes, I'd love to hear it. Oh God, the Geo Show on KMPC. And Gary Owens looks at me and goes, my God, that's spot on. And I teared up. I was starting to cry. But here's the best part of that story is Shotgun Tom said to me at the end of that lunch, he goes, he'll never forget you. I went, why? Because my impression? No, he doesn't forget people. He'll never forget you. So I left my job in Los Angeles within that year and went back to San Diego. 3 years later, I got a nomination for an Emmy Award, just a local Emmy. It's not a big deal, and I didn't win it. But I go up to the Museum of Television and Radio Sciences in Beverly Hills to go to the ceremony. And I walk in, and when I open the door at the wall, just about where that water cooler is from here, there's Gary Owens standing there. And I walked in the building, and he goes, Jon St. John! This is 3 years later, and he's 80-something years old. I went, oh my God! He and I became friends. We were friends in the last few years of his life. And I know you guys don't necessarily know Gary Owens, but when I first met him, he still sounded like the Geo Show. And then the last gig that he had before he passed on was for Kia. And his voice was Kia. It wasn't the Geo like this anymore. It was this voice for Kia. You know how old guys get that windy, breathy sound when they lose their vocal power. He had gotten to that point as I knew him. But he was the nicest guy, and his wife was super nice, and it was a thrill for me as somebody who idolized this man as a child, and he got me into the industry because I was so influenced by him. To actually meet him and become friends years later before he passed away, that was mind-blowing to me, and something that I'll treasure for the rest of my life. Okay, we have 5 more minutes for questions. You have a question.
So would it break your contract with your
NDA?
No, not that. Your mattress contract to do parody as Duke Nukem selling mattresses or Big Cats? At least for Twitter.
They would never. Well, I don't know if Sleep Outfitters would be offended by it or entertained. I don't know. But if Duke Nukem were selling mattresses for Sleep Outfitters, right now, get $300 off any Stearns & Foster or Tempur-Pedic, and get a $300 gift card this week only, with free setup and delivery from Sleep Outfitters. That's how Duke would do it. Okay, quick questions. Any more? Yes, right here.
How did you feel about doing the Duke voice for Bulletstorm?
I love doing the voice in Bulletstorm. Replacing Steve Bloom? Fucking A! So Steve's character was Grayson, and the funny thing about doing the Duke Nukem replacement for Grayson in that game was they had to make Duke drunk, so I had to play the part drunk at the beginning, and the only part of the performance I wasn't able to do, somebody did for me, was all the burping. And I went and I got myself a couple of Diet Cokes and chugged them and jumped up and down, and I could not on command get a decent belch out of Duke so somebody else did that. But the funny thing about the game was they could not afford to bring all the voice actors in who interacted with Grayson in the game. So you often hear them calling Duke Grayson, and so they had me just go, why are you calling me that? What the hell? I thought that was kind of funny. Budget restraints. Okay, time for just a couple more questions. Yeah, you right here.
What's your favorite Duke quotes to do?
I had eggs for breakfast. Your mom had sausage. That is from Duke Nukem Forever. And just so you know, remember in the original Duke Nukem game, I'll rip off your head and shit down your neck, right? In Duke Nukem Forever, it was, I'll rip out your eyeball and piss on your brain, which he does in the first level. All of the lines, including I had breakfast sausage, all of those lines were written by 2 women. All of the Duke Nukem lines were written by 2 women in that game. One of them asked me never to mention her name ever. The other, now I forgot her name. It's probably for the best. She wouldn't want me mentioning her name here anyway. Next question real quick before we got to wrap. Yes, you.
Is there a voice that you have really hard time doing or just hurts to do after a while?
Yeah, you know the game Twisted Metal 4? The Twisted Metal series? Sweet Tooth spokesperson clown, which was my takeoff of the Crypt Keeper from HBO's Tales of the Crypt.
Greetings, boys and ghoulies! So I had to do this voice for 6 hours!
And at the end of the session, I sounded like this. And it took me 2 days to get my voice back again. And today, when we get auditions for video games, there is a disclaimer on the email that says, caution, this work contains vocally stressful work. And they have to do that because of, well, after I did that game for, Sony owned it, but they were called 989 Studios, back when I did Twisted Metal 4. I couldn't do work for 2 days for the TV station I was working for. My voice was stuck like this, because 6 hours of screaming and laughing and doing that shit, I had no voice left. And so today they warn voice actors in the audition process that you may end up like that for a couple of days if you do this job. So that was the hardest one for me. We have time for one more question. Yes?
What do you do to keep your voice from if you do have a hard job?
Oh, there are several different techniques. Every voice actor has different ones, but I can tell you every good recording studio has a bowl of green apples in the studio. And the reason for that is you take a bite of a green apple and the moisture content in your mouth stays just right so you don't get a lot of noises, right? Because you don't want that. For me, for instance, I was telling you about that animated motion picture I'll be in later this year where I play a bear. I need a big, low, rumbly, grumbly voice, right? So the night before I have to do promos or a character like that, I go out and I sing karaoke. And I sing as high as I can. I have a 4-octave range, which is pretty respectable for a guy of my age with a big voice. And I sing as high as I can, stretch my vocal cords real hard, and in the morning when I wake up, man, I sound like Sam freaking Elliott. And that's a technique I use to get my voice low or even high, stretching the vocal cords to their max the day before, sleeping on it, get up, do the voice work. That works for me. And singing helps a lot too with enunciating and just vocal range, sliding between pitches. Or when you have to do 2-3 characters in a row in a recording session, helps a lot with that too. Okay, you got it. And it is 6:01. I've gone over. But thank you all for coming to the panel. I appreciate it. I hope you'll come to my sexy, naughty, late night party panel. Who's over 18? Who's over 18? We have prizes to give away, and it is hilarious. It's in panel room 3 tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. And right now in this room is autographs. So if you want to do autographs, this is my autograph session right now. If you leave, you don't get autographs.
If you're getting autographs...
Oh, we have to clear the room. And then...
Silver Gatoman, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gatoman, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gatoman, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.